when Aurelia Moon's text message came through, I was in a baby boutique, choosing between two cribs. I had decided to try for a baby in the 5th year of my marriage. I wanted the clamor of a child to fill the vast, empty silence that had settled over a house meant for more than just two. But in the few minutes I stood comparing the two cribs, a single unknown number had already rung me more than a dozen times, each call blocked and silenced by my phone's spam filter. I was just thinking how relentlessly persistent salespeople had become these days, their tenacity almost admirable, even deserving a nod of encouragement when a notification banner jolted my mind blank. This is Aurelia Moon. I'm Damian Cross's girlfriend. I'd like to talk. She was blunt and to the point, proposing a candid conversation. I felt shock, dread, disbelief. Damian Cross was the husband I'd dated for 2 years and been married to for 5. He was gentle, attentive, and meticulous, wrapping me in a cocoon of care and protection. So much so that, whether in public or private, he played the part of the flawless partner beyond reproach. And now someone was telling me that he had betrayed me, betrayed our love and our marriage. My mind unraveled into a tangled mess. I couldn't believe it. For one fleeting moment, I even wanted to flee from the accident that had shattered my perfect life, to block her number and bury my head. But a woman's intuition told me it was true. My pride and my stubbornness wouldn't let me pretend nothing had happened. They forced me to dig to the bottom of it. And so, almost against my will, I found myself at the coffee shop where she'd asked to meet. Aurelia Moon sat by the window, cradling a glass of water, tracing a heart into the condensation on the pane. Her gaze was clear and youthful, entirely without aggression. Only when she saw me did a flicker of surprise and astonishment cross her fair, lovely face. I pulled myself together, sat down across from her, and met her scrutiny head-on, all the while quietly taking my own measure of her. To be fair, Aurelia was beautiful, delicate, fair-skinned, with exquisite features and a doll-like face. A fine little songbird indeed. Most of all, she was young. I was 32, already sliding into middle age, and naturally no match for dewy, fresh-faced girls. She simply sat there, poised, and signaled the waiter to bring me a hot latte, no sugar.
I've seen Damian's takeout history. He often orders an iced Americano and a hot latte, no sugar. He only ever drinks the iced Americano. So I figured the latte must be yours.
What do you think Damian will do when he finds out you came to me?
I didn't have a choice, Alara. I'm pregnant.
The sky outside was brilliantly clear, yet a thunderclap exploded inside my chest, making my hands tremble so violently that the bitter coffee nearly sloshed over the rim.
The doctor said my uterine wall is too thin. I can't risk a termination. If I don't keep this baby, I may never be able to have another.
I studied the papers one by one, searching for any trace of deliberate fabrication, but it was futile.
Damian says the two of you haven't had a real connection for a long time. The only reason he hasn't pushed for a divorce is that you can't have children. I know how wrong this is, but I truly had no idea you existed at the start. I hope you can let him go.
Do you actually know him? The enormous bouquets delivered to her door, the gourmet meals that materialized across the city lights, the trendiest seasonal clothes and bags Aurelia fell. He was running the large company my father had left me, spending my hard cash, living in the sprawling luxury villa I'd bought, rotating through the fleet of cars I owned. I'll give it serious thought. Let's exchange WhatsApp info so I can give you an answer later. She was indeed too naive. Just a few words from me and her eyes glistened with grateful tears. She clasped my stiff, reluctant hands and poured out endless thanks and apologies. I am not a kind person. On the contrary, I'm a thoroughly cold-hearted pragmatist. I only wanted to destroy him. When I returned to the empty house, my mind was flooded with the intimate details of Aurelia and Damian's year together. I felt both heartbroken and disgusted, as if I had aged many years in a single moment. I stared at my 30-something self in the mirror. Thanks to meticulous upkeep, I didn't really show my age. It was just that my features were rather bold and striking, carrying an air of cool detachment and strength, unlike Aurelia's sweet, approachable charm. But when Damian had been relentlessly pursuing me, hadn't he said my face could rival any star's, that he'd never tire of looking at it? How, after only a few years, had he grown so weary of it. Damien and I were university classmates. He came from a rural background, his family of modest means, and he knew self-reliance was the only way to change his fate. So he worked incredibly hard, pushing himself day and night, racking up scholarships with ease. Yet, in the subjects where he had to exhaust himself just to scrape a high grade, I achieved excellent results with seemingly effortless grace. He kept his head buried in books, never bothering to look up and notice people. By the time he finally noticed me, it was after I'd knocked him out of the top spot in our year. He was indignant and tracked down my dorm and stood guard downstairs for days, only to miss me entirely since I happened to be away. Finally, when I returned, refreshed from a 5-day jaunt to Switzerland and stepping gracefully out of the car, I captivated a thoroughly disgruntled Damien on the spot. Later, after we were together, he confessed.
I'd assumed a girl who did so well in her coursework would at least look the part, thick frame glasses and a bookish face. Instead, you looked like a noble, ethereal goddess, and I was rooted to the ground, thunderstruck.
He pursued me doggedly, but with an unpolished sincerity. He brought me snacks and drinks, passed me review notes. He accompanied me to class, to the library, to meals, but he always kept a gentlemanly distance of 2 meters, never making me uncomfortable. At the time, I was planning to go abroad for further study and had no interest in romance. I consistently turned him down, just as I turned down every other suitor. Then I saw a post on the university forum that ridiculed him at length, calling him a social climber, trying to use a woman to get ahead. That was when I realized the enormous pressure and scorn he had been enduring while chasing me. Let it go. Those ugly words aren't worth your attention, but they still hurt your reputation.
What does it matter? Your family background is exceptional. I knew that when I set my sights on you. If people want to badmouth me for it, I deserve it. Let them talk. I'll keep chasing you. Does being poor strip a man of the right to love? I have just as much right as anyone to pursue love on equal terms.
I was speechless, but I silently allowed him to keep pursuing me. Day after day, constant as dripping water that wears through stone. Without me noticing, he had quietly chiseled a hole into my heart. And so we began dating. For the first time, I, who always had a plan, put myself last. I gave up going abroad. I also defied my parents. But he had backbone and never spent a single cent of my money. Even for the 2 years after graduation, he kept working dutifully as an ordinary employee. Until I suddenly got pregnant, an ectopic pregnancy. The baby couldn't be kept, and my body suffered major trauma. I grieved for my body and mourned the loss of that tiny life. I often drifted off into a fog, unable to focus on work. He quit his job to care for me for half a year. When my body had mostly recovered, he proposed. In the first 2 years after our wedding, he continued working elsewhere while I still ran the company my father had left me. Late one night during overtime, my heart lurched and I collapsed, and I was rushed to the hospital. My father reconciled with Damien. He formally took over the management of our company, and I retreated to the background. If life had followed that plan, it might have been somewhat dull, but it could have been called perfect. But life is fickle. Who could have guessed that such an honest, simple boy could morph into someone so disgusting and false? It was late at night when Damien finally came home. As usual, I sat quietly on the sofa, leafing through a magazine and waiting for him. But my mind was churning with calculations and schemes. The moment he walked through the door, I rose to greet him as naturally as ever, but when he leaned in to kiss me, I turned my head and offered him only my cheek. "You reek of alcohol! Disgusting!" I feigned distaste and looked away. He indulged me, planting a flurry of kisses on my forehead, a smug grin spreading across his face, just like a lover still in the throes of a romance. He didn't notice the revulsion and loathing in my eyes. "Have some honey water to ease the hangover." And Lawrence, really he should be helping share the load, letting you stumble home this late. Every single night, I'm going to have a word with him sometime. I was just testing the waters, but his uncomfortable expression betrayed his guilt.
It's all for the company, you know. Tastes a little bitter today.
I swallowed the swell of emotion and deliberately glared at him. He was all smiles, just as usual, and in a few words, he had casually deflected my intention to speak with Lawrence. But ever since the Aurelia incident, I've doubted everything about him. That familiar scent had been his companion for almost 2 years and had sickened me for just as long. I hadn't questioned it because the scent was genuinely distinctive. I couldn't find anything similar among the dozens of bottles in my collection. While he was in the shower, I rifled through the pockets of his suit jacket, but dead center on the back of the jacket, there was a smudge of vermilion so faint it was barely there. I rubbed it between my fingertips, lipstick. He had yet another woman. Listening to the rush of water from the bathroom, my heart plunged into an abyss. It hurt so much I could barely breathe. Looking at his nearly unchanged face on my phone's lock screen, I almost doubted that time had left any mark on him at all. Whenever he was home in the evenings, he'd prepare warm water for me to soak my feet. Always afraid I might overdose, he thoughtfully portioned the white pills into small cases, 1 case per night, 2 pills each, perfectly measured. Now, looking back, it was all a cruel joke. Damien had barely finished his shower, his wet hair still dripping, when he started yawning and headed for bed. Before disappearing into his room, he even thoughtfully reminded me not to forget to take my medicine before sleep. I played along perfectly, popping the 2 pills into my mouth in front of him, then taking a gulp of water and swallowing. Satisfied, he ruffled my hair and turned to go into his bedroom. I've had chronic insomnia for ages, and to avoid disturbing him, we've been sleeping in separate rooms for a long time now. As soon as his door clicked shut, I hurried to my own bathroom, spat the pills I'd hidden under my tongue into the toilet, and flushed them away. He was the one who regularly refilled that prescription for me. How could I dare to keep gambling my body and my life? Just as I got in touch with Lawrence and instructed him to keep a close eye on the company accounts, the sound from Damien's room went quiet. But that was then. Now, he had zero credibility with me. His phone unlocked with his fingerprint. Damien is no fool. He wouldn't make it easy for me to find anything. I sorted his WhatsApp contacts by the storage space, each chat occupied, and scrolled down. I quickly found Aurelia and another suspicious person, Morgan Layton. I opened their chat logs. Line after line, scene after scene, my heart was carved to pieces. She had written, Damien had replied. A tidal wave of fury and agony crashed over me, nearly sweeping away my reason. My trembling hand could barely swipe the screen. Tear after tear, fat as pearls, rolled down my face, but they couldn't wash away the grief and pain flooding my heart. I hugged myself and wept for a long, long time, silently cursing myself for ever trusting him so completely. Weeping can only vent emotion. It doesn't solve problems. I swallowed the pain and made some hard, long-term plans. I dried my tears, saved the screenshots of their chat logs, and sent the juiciest parts to Aurelia. I wanted her to see the brutal truth. She called me back almost immediately. I wrapped myself in a throw, stepped outside, and took Aurelia's call.
Alara, where is that bastard? I want to end him. He swore I was his only love. He broke his word. And who the hell is this Morgan Layton? If she's his true love, then what am I? What are you?
Aurelia, straightforward and utterly without guile, sobbed pitifully on the phone. You're the novelty. I'm the stepping stone. Neither of us has much to do with love, I suppose. My reply was calm and brutal. Through the phone, I heard the crash of a shattering cup and a torrent of hysterical screams and curses.
I'm gonna end him. End them both.
Calm down. Do you think ending him or ending yourself will solve anything? What about the baby in your belly? What about your parents burying their own child? You're just gonna throw away the rest of your life? Swallowing my exhaustion, I soothed her gently. She wept until her voice was choked.
What should I do?
I suggested we meet in person, same place as before, but the condition was that she had to guarantee she could keep up a clueless front in front of Damien. She gritted her teeth and fiercely agreed, her voice full of resolve. The next morning, Damien left for the office early, just as he always did. The moment he was gone, Ronan Hale, the private investigator I'd hired, stepped through my door. He's my childhood friend, who only returned to Halstead a year ago, opening a detective agency. Wearing white gloves, he took a few pills from the sleeping medication Damien had brought home. He also took samples of my usual supplements and vitamins.
Just look at what our gorgeous Alara has been reduced to. So haggard. You should have just married me. Don't you know a plucked peacock is less than a chicken?
I cut off his rambling and handed him a glass of tepid water. Complete ruin, reputation and all. I'll pay $1 million. A gleam of delight flickered through his sharp eyes, and then, with immense satisfaction, he extended his hand. Once Ronan threw himself into work, his earnestness was a far cry from his charmingly roguish exterior. And I wasn't idle either. I went out to meet our naive little sister, Aurelia. It was the same spot by the window. Barely a day had passed, yet the vibrant Aurelia was already haggard, her swollen eyes stripped of their once dazzling sparkle.
Alara, what am I supposed to do?
The moment she saw me, she grabbed my hand, desperate, treating me like her lifeline. A girl barely out of her teens, fresh into the world, with ordinary, conservative parents, how could they ever accept an unmarried pregnancy, let alone being the other woman? And now her one anchor, Damien, had turned out to be a lost hope. Who else did she have to rely on? At the very least, in her eyes, I still had a shred of kindness. I let out a helpless sigh. You must still love Damien. If I tell you to just abandon your feelings right now, you'd never be willing. Through her tears, she nodded emphatically in agreement. Then go see him yourself. Make him choose clearly to your face. If he chooses you, you'll have a future to hold on to. If he doesn't, your heart can finally give up and you can work with me to build a solid future for the child you're carrying. She hesitated, so I added more fuel to the fire. Right now, at least you still have me to help you. But if Morgan Layton gets her way, do you think she'd let you keep this baby? Her mouth opened and closed. It was only when she thought about Morgan and Damien's scheme to drug me that her resolve finally hardened.
I want to take one last shot to see exactly where Damien's feelings and sincerity stand.
In truth, I'd already guessed the outcome, but until she completely extinguished her last shred of hope, how could she willingly join me in taking down this scumbag? Armed with the address I gave her, Aurelia tracked him down to the office building.
Damien Cross, get out here. Why won't you answer your phone? If you don't show up, I'll take matters into my own hands.
Her threat worked. Within 10 minutes, Damien dragged her into a quiet, out-of-the-way restaurant to negotiate terms. But no matter how secluded, it didn't escape Ronan, who had been lying in wait. He captured everything on camera.
How much? Just name your price.
Damien was furious and opened with a fatal blow to the naive girl.
What do you mean, how much? Do you think I'm doing this for money? What about all your promises of love? What about our baby?
Enough. Enough. You're giving me a headache. Love and feelings are impractical. Just tell me how much to buy you off.
Before Aurelia could even finish, Damien waved his hand impatiently, his head turned away, landing the second blow on the innocent girl.
So there was never any love at all?
Aurelia's eyes were red-rimmed, so pitifully vulnerable that anyone's heart would ache. Tears were about to spill over, but Damien didn't waver in the slightest.
We're adults. Be practical. Girls like you, I have one or two in every city where our company has a branch. I don't have that much love or feeling to go around. How naive.
His words hit her like a bucket of ice water, dousing the last glimmer of her hope. She stood frozen in place, staring at the familiar stranger before her, unmoving.
I'll give you $500,000. Use it to end the pregnancy and start a new life. $500,000 is no small sum. At your old job, you couldn't even save 50 grand a year. One child, and you're skipping 10 years of struggle. What more do you want? And, anyway, whether the child is even mine is still up for debate. These men-women things, who can ever really say, don't get greedy. Otherwise, I'll expose what you've done, the mistress role, right back to your hometown. Let your parents hold their heads in shame.
Aurelia's face drained of color. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Her parents were her weak spot, and he had seized it. She had lost, but she refused to accept it.
I'll transfer the money to your bank account right now. If there's nothing else, goodbye. Let's never cross paths again. What a nuisance.
Damien delivered his final blow with words cold as knives. He stood up, smoothed his tailored suit jacket until it was impeccably straight, and then strode away, dignified and composed. Aurelia sat there alone until the sun slanted west.
I'll do whatever you say. What do you need me to do?
I want to make him pay, not just with money. The girl had wised up, but she was still too naive. Why turn your back on money? Raising a child costs a fortune. My smile didn't quite reach my eyes, but I felt a certain weary satisfaction. Stay at a hotel for now. I'll make the arrangements for you soon. Don't worry about expenses. Eat well, rest well, I'll cover everything. And your baby, I'll have a family doctor look after you properly. There was silence on the other end for a moment, then the sound of unrestrained weeping. Perhaps Damien was afraid that what had happened at the office today might reach me through someone else's mouth. For the first time in ages, he had no business dinner. He came straight home after work and even spun the scene Aurelia had caused at the company into a disgruntled peasant trying to harm the king anecdote for my entertainment. I listened with a smile, secretly feeling nothing but contempt for the girl. He washed his hands, ready to cook for us himself. But I very regretfully informed him I had a class reunion and wouldn't be eating at home that evening. He disliked all my classmates. He always said those rich people looked at him through tinted lenses, so he never participated. My so-called class reunion was nothing more than parking my car along an empty stretch of road outside the community and keeping my eyes glued to the garage, waiting for Damien to leave. It took barely 20 minutes before he couldn't wait any longer and rushed off to meet his lover. The moment he was gone, I returned home and had Ronan's assistant install a pinhole camera in the living room ceiling. It was a high-end apartment complex on the other side of the city. Perfect. Think it over carefully. If you don't have the resolve to take down these two, the scumbag and his scheming lover, then don't get involved. I can do it myself.
Alara, I'm with you. He's heartless and ruthless. I won't let him get away with it. Scumbags and scheming sluts, they deserve to burn.
Watching the two of them bicker and banter their way into becoming unlikely frenemies genuinely surprised me. By the time Aurelia had established a connection with Morgan, Ronan had also handed me Morgan's dossier. Lawrence moved with astonishing speed. In just 1 week, he'd unearthed how Damien had been siphoning company funds. I only instructed him to gather and preserve every scrap of evidence. Once I had dealt with our joint marital assets, I would deliver a grand gift to him. The joint assets Damien and I shared, aside from some liquid cash on hand, included a villa worth over $100 million. I had purchased it just a year ago, envisioning it as the place where, after having children, our whole family would live in harmony and spend the rest of our days. Thankfully, the sprawling penthouse we currently lived in, as well as the upscale apartment where his mother resided, were both premarital gifts from my mother and not part of the joint property. Our joint assets might not be vast, but I didn't want a single cent falling into that social climber's hands. Every extra penny he took was an insult to my feelings and my intelligence. That was precisely why Aurelia and I had teamed up to reclaim every last thing that was mine. With her disarmingly sweet face and likable personality, Aurelia quickly grew closer and closer to Morgan. Crucially, the identity Aurelia posed under was that of a kept woman who had already successfully won, and she was pregnant to boot. It was a status Morgan deeply envied, and it earned Aurelia major points. Morgan practically worshipped her like a guru, especially when the supplements and maternity items I kept buying for Aurelia were delivered. Morgan went from envy to genuine admiration. She envied that Aurelia had a sugar daddy abroad who was thoughtful, meticulous, and lavished money without a second thought. Before Aurelia even needed to curry favor, Morgan was already actively seeking her out, constantly asking for advice. Within just a few days, Aurelia was freely coming and going from Morgan's apartment. Meanwhile, Damien was still holding the home front steady, projecting the image of an unshakable husband, while flagrantly chasing every skirt he could find elsewhere. The more he traveled for business, the more Ronan's travel expenses piled up, and the more of Damien's philandering was exposed under his camera. I had had no idea that after all these busy years, while his business achievements were nil, he'd been busy filling entire rooms with beauties tall, petite, slender, curvy, every type imaginable. Looking at those young faces in the photos, and then at the nauseating intimacy he faked in front of me, I couldn't suppress the wave of disgust. Don't let me be the only one disgusted. Let's discuss his true love as well. Ronan pocketed the photos with a sly grin. Just 1 day later, Damien, freshly out of the shower, took a call He told me there was an emergency at the company, then bolted out the door in a panic. Of course, I knew things had blown up on that end, and he was rushing to explain himself. Compared to the others, he did hold a fair amount of genuine feeling for Morgan. But even that genuine feeling wasn't enough to make him keep his pants on. I don't know exactly when it happened, but that boy who used to blush just holding hands had morphed into a full-blown predator, deliberately luring in all manner of flings. Was it time that had changed? Or had we changed? The moment he left, I swallowed my sorrow and got on a video call with Aurelia.
She got the photos. She's livid, asking me what to do. Those explicit photos, even I was burning with rage looking at them, let alone her. Drain his pockets. If she can't get emotional compensation, then get financial compensation. She bought it completely. She summoned him over right away. God, what a rush. Poor Alara. I'm afraid your family's money will be landing in her pockets tonight.
Oh, my naive little sister. No one is touching my family's money. With Morgan's full file in hand, hooking her was not difficult. Just play to her desires and keep her company. And so, Aurelia swiftly infiltrated the enemy's inner circle and steadily advanced our plan. I praised her for a job well done, and she beamed her smile so sweet, her whole face radiating a praise me glow. But then Ronan suddenly popped up behind her, rolling his eyes, and nearly gave me a heart attack.
You're putting her on too high a pedestal. Kids can't handle too much praise. Go easy.
Aurelia affronted, pouted, and chucked the throw pillow at the big-mouthed Ronan.
Who's a kid? I'm about to be a mother, okay?
I was a little taken aback. Was this something brewing? It's this late, and you two are alone together. A man and a woman. My jaw practically dropped. I couldn't fathom how these two had managed to get so chummy so fast.
Hey, no, I don't do cradle robbing.
Ronan waved his hands in immediate denial, looking very much like leave me out of this.
Who'd want you anyway, with your smoking and your foul mouth? Just don't stink up my baby.
Aurelia wasn't backing down an inch, hands on her hips, parrying him with a "this queen can thrive on her own" attitude.
Alara, don't misunderstand. I just suddenly had a bad bout of nausea tonight and was craving something sour.
She even made a point of explaining it to me. I folded my arms and just smiled, saying nothing.
Don't forget the extra charges. It all goes on your tab. Settle up when you get a chance.
Ronan nudged Aurelia aside, winking and grimacing at me, looking for all the world like a man obsessed with money. I ended the call somewhere between laughter and tears and started calculating. The few pennies Damien had in his pockets had long been squandered. Now that Morgan was suddenly demanding a house, a car, and hard cash, he'd be driven to desperate measures. He'd either embezzle from the company or set his sights on me. I was practically hoping he'd expose more and more cracks, so that when the final reckoning came, he'd have no escape. I truly hated him to the core, hated his scheming, hated his viciousness these past years. My physical weakness, my mental exhaustion and insomnia, I owed it all to him. How could I have forgotten he was a physics major? Adding a hypotensive agent to a sedative would be child's play for him. So the more I took, the more lethargic, apathetic, and dull I became, losing all zest for life, my path leading inevitably to depression. Thankfully, I stopped in time and switched to antidepressants, which kept me from succumbing to the illness just as he'd planned. Morgan was a bird of the same feather. She swapped my blood-nourishing supplements for ones that depleted my blood, so the more I took, the more weaker I got, making conception impossible for years. The two of them colluded in wickedness, first deceiving my heart, then scheming to steal my fortune, and ultimately leaving me to waste away alone, with no burial place. Such a debt of hatred and vengeance, how could I ever let him have his way? Once the seed of suspicion is planted, it quickly takes root and sprouts. To make Morgan doubt the scumbag's claims of so-called obligatory social engagements and to erode her trust in him entirely, I swiftly arranged a clever, coincidental encounter. Damien was already frantic and frazzled by Morgan's demands for a house and a car. He was visibly exhausted, barely holding it together at work. I considerately noticed his exhaustion and, seizing the opportunity, arranged a 3-day getaway for the two of us at a hot springs resort. He resisted at first, but When I pouted and scolded him, if you keep working yourself into the ground like this, neglecting your health, I'll have Father send someone else to take over. Then you can have a permanent vacation. He smiled helplessly and agreed. Morgan believed he was only placating me, just like every other time. But our little angel Aurelia wasn't about to let her keep blind faith in the scumbag.
The wife doesn't even know you? What are you afraid of?
So, with a mix of belief and skepticism, Morgan drove to the Hot Springs Resort, determined to confirm her supposedly irreplaceable place in Damien's heart. She even arrived at the lobby before we did and hid in the coffee shop off to the side, tracking and testing us. I received a message from my little cutie while still on the road. "She's waiting in the lobby. Go get him, sis." Heart emoji. The very moment I stepped into the lobby, I spotted Morgan lurking furtively among the scattered guests. Once I was sure she could see us, I smiled. A deeply satisfied smile, I wrapped my arm around Damien's more tightly. We had barely checked in when Lawrence's call came through. The client Damien had been chasing for half a month was ready to sign tonight. He was helpless and had to leave me there. He murmured gentle apologies. I ignored them, deliberately putting on a cold, sulking face. He coaxed me patiently, piling on sweet words, and finally won me over by promising to treat me to a lavish dinner later. "You'll have to make it up to me with kisses and cuddles."
Be good, okay? Wait for me.
As I saw him off with a loving gaze, watching him glance back every few steps, I turned and stepped into the elevator, catching sight of the stunned Morgan out of the corner of my eye. Her face was practically green with rage. A high-end hot springs resort like this naturally prided itself on absolute privacy. If I wanted, I could soak all day in a secluded private thermal pool. "Hi, I'm the spouse of the guest in room 1919, Damien Cross. Could you please check for me, did I leave the room key card here?" By the time she was fully beside me, her signature scent, the same perfume that always clung to Damien, was flooding my nostrils. "Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. Found it."
Wait,
"Hey, I just got here and haven't even soaked yet. I'm not a fan of the private little pools. The Crescent Lagoon pool is much nicer. It's not private, but the view is so much better. I'm heading there right now. Just gotta change." The 19th floor arrived. She was staying just 2 doors down from us. Duly noted. I dawdled, even asked the front desk to order me 2 coffees, before finally ambling over to the Crescent Lagoon pool at an unhurried pace. Since it wasn't the weekend, the open pools were sparsely populated. And the Crescent Lagoon was relatively remote and secluded, not exactly a hit with the younger crowd. So when I arrived, I saw only Morgan leaning against the edge, looking utterly devastated. I greeted her first. After all, running into each other twice in less than an hour had to be either deliberate or fate. Her smile was bitter and stiff, a pall of gloom that wouldn't lift draped over her pretty face. I settled into the water not far from her, submerging most of my body into the pool. The warmth that rose past my chest instantly wrapped me in a cocoon of comfort and ease. She couldn't wait any longer and started probing about Damien. I replied with love in my eyes and honey at the corners of my lips, presenting the picture of marital bliss. Her gaze darkened as she pressed on, testing the truth of our relationship. "Oh, I'm not afraid of your questions. I'm only afraid you won't open your mouth." I spoke with a playful, scolding fondness, detailing my husband's over-the-top fussing. Every word was a blade, flaying the woman across from me until she could barely keep her smile in place.
he's really good to you.
I replied casually, and that single sentence drained the color from her face. My offhand teasing left the stunned Morgan speechless. Without lifting a finger, I shattered his lies all over again. The we she believed in so firmly was now just her. I closed my eyes on purpose, savoring the sheer pleasure and comfort of slicing them to pieces. The server arrived, with the coffees right on cue, breaking the stalemate. I smiled with all sincerity, handed her the iced Americano that Damien always drank, and started sipping the latte myself. Damien had told her that his drugs had left me sleepless night after night, that I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I smiled too brightly, practically pointing right at her nose and saying, "You're the fool they've conned into bearing a child. Not only will you bear the child, but the moment it's born, they'll snatch it and flee. You'll end up with nothing." My joking had me doubling over with laughter, but the person in front of me couldn't even muster the strength to crack a smile. He told her I was terminally ill and couldn't sleep without heavy medication, yet here I was guzzling coffee late at night without a trace of so-called nervous exhaustion. He'd told her I was desperate for a child, and that for her sake, he'd been religiously dosing me so I'd never conceive. And yet, it turned out I was the one afraid of having children. He'd said she loved lattes, and every time he had his Americano, he'd remember to order one for her. As it happened, that was his habit, a habit I had cultivated in him, and the latte he so conscientiously ordered for her was in fact my favorite. Put that way, she wasn't even a stand-in for me. At best, at very best, she was a broodmare his mother had conned into carrying on the family line. One with no house, no car, no money to show for it. His claim that the money wasn't in his hands was probably another lie. After all, with a company that size under his control, a CEO title like his, how could he possibly not come up with the funds? Even the company the two of them had opened together had been partly funded through her using her name to secure part of the capital. She was spiraling, her composure visibly cracking. I couldn't tell if it was the water too hot or she too shocked, but a dense sheen of sweat had broken out across her forehead. Watching Morgan's faith crumble gave me the first taste of genuine, unadulterated satisfaction. The heart-rending pain I'd endured was far worse than hers naturally. I wanted her to suffer through it too. But this was hardly enough. After all, hearing is deceptive, seeing is believing. The scumbag could probably talk his way back into at least half her trust. So then let her see for herself. Morgan couldn't take it anymore. Once I drained the last of my coffee with a smile, she wrapped a towel around herself, stood, and bid me goodbye. I immediately messaged our little intel sweetheart, telling her she must keep Morgan steady. We couldn't afford to alert the enemy now, or all our previous efforts would be undone. Our little sweetheart Aurelia shot back a got it and rushed to console her new bestie, slipping in a few helpful suggestions along the way. Under Aurelia's repeated urgings, the scumbag can't be trusted, Morgan resolved to steady her fractured emotions, keep a low profile, and observe, to see exactly what game the scumbag was playing. Just then, the scumbag himself came slinking back, his face fallen. "Did you seal the contract?" He merely nodded, looking utterly exhausted and steeped in frustration. How could he not be frustrated? His true love was pressuring him for money and a house, and he simply couldn't deliver. And the irregularities in the company accounts had been uncovered, but the money had already been spent on Mistress number 3, number 4, number N. Lawrence had given him a 10-day deadline to return the embezzled funds, or else it would be reported directly to the chairman, my father, and he'd land behind bars. He might look like a big shot CEO, but he was only a salaried employee. His credit cards were practically maxed out. Where could he possibly scrape together tens of millions? He was drained, frantic, but he didn't dare breathe a word to me. After all, the allowance I gave him was already more than generous. He just spent without restraint and supported a whole harem. There was never enough. How's that new company with your friend coming along? I had to remind him, of course. Over 10 million had been poured into that new company, all of it, my money. Naturally, I expected it back. He paused, then his eyes lit up.
Not great. My partner's preparing to pull out. Either I come up with the cash to buy out his shares, or we close up shop.
His tone had suddenly lightened. So this was his play. Either I put up the money so he could buy out the shares and keep the company running, or they'd shut it down, the previous investment written off as a total loss, and I'd never see a single cent of my own investment again. That's unacceptable. Arrange for him to meet with me? After all, I'm a major shareholder too. Did he dare arrange that meeting? The so-called partner and good friend was in truth his mistress, Morgan.
Don't rush. Let me talk to him again first.
He hastened to soothe me, terrified I might actually show up and expose his lies. I wasn't in a hurry to unmask him either. So I dropped the subject. Truth be told, even if we divorced right now, he could still walk away with a hefty amount. A mega villa in the most prime location worth over 100 million would be more than enough for him and his mother to live in comfort for the rest of their lives. He wasn't satisfied. He was waiting for the date, just 6 months from now, when my father planned to transfer a significant portion of his assets to me. Only then would he lay his cards on the table. I haven't had dinner yet. I was waiting for you. To make up for it, you're cutting my steak for me tonight. I slipped on my robe and steered him toward a change of scenery, forcing this man, already scraping rock bottom, to cough up a little more blood. He was oblivious, simply assuming I decided I wanted a child and was acting especially coquettish with him. We returned to the room, freshened up, and then headed out. I've heard the restaurant on the 25th floor is quite good. I said it loudly, right as we passed the room 2 doors down from ours.
Then eat your fill tonight. Don't worry about saving my wallet.
He oozed flattery and flirtation, which sickened me, but it was exactly what I'd wanted. The floor-to-ceiling windows on the 25th floor offered a sweeping view of the city's glittering expanse. I sat by the window, looking down over everything, and for a fleeting moment, I felt as if all my troubles had been cast to the far edges of the sky. This sensation of towering above the world, surveying the heavens from on high, was quite wonderful if only the person across from me were someone else. We ordered the most expensive set menu and sat in the only dining alcove that jutted out into the sky. I wore the most flawless makeup and a half-shoulder silk slip dress, coolly elegant and yet utterly alluring. Even the server delivering the appetizers couldn't help sneaking an extra glance or two. The scumbag didn't love me, but he was possessive. After the server had stolen a few consecutive looks at me and was unlucky enough to be caught by him, Damien's face cooled by a few degrees.
You're wearing too little. I'd hate for you to catch a chill.
Damien was still performing his hollow affection, and I simply nodded with a smile. Through the semi-transparent glass partition, I could see Morgan seated in the farthest corner, her eyes locked on us. Only now, her hands were clenched into fists, and there wasn't a trace of warmth left on her face. Seizing the moment, I looped my arms around Damien's neck just after he'd finished draping the jacket over me, my eyes shimmering. He played along perfectly, planting a deep, loving kiss on my cheek. I smiled, and it was genuinely beautiful indeed. The appetizers were tasteless to me. I just sipped 1 glass of paired wine after another. At last, the steak arrived. It was also the moment to launch the real attack. Damien, as I had previously demanded, took the steak from the server and began slicing. By the time you're done cutting, I'll have drunk myself full. He is a good man, a good husband. How could he ever let me be dissatisfied? So he sliced with his own hands and fed me bite by bite, even gently wiping away the grease that smeared the corner of my mouth. The steak served by him, envied to madness by her, I ate with my heart fluttering, utterly satisfied. 2 young waitstaff hovered outside the alcove, whispering among themselves, and Morgan, seated on the same side as Damien with only a view of me, could hear every word perfectly. Another girl chimed in, practically drooling with envy. I'd have to tip those girls a little extra. So perceptive, so skilled at plunging the knife. Damien had already drunk some earlier and then matched me glass for glass with the red wine. By now, his face was flushed, a little tipsy. Morgan finally couldn't take it anymore. She rose to her feet, shot 1 last venomous glare at our alcove, and stormed out. The moment she was gone, I had no desire to keep playing the devoted lover with Damien. Pleading a slight stomachache, I pulled him away early before I'd even had my favorite dessert. While Damien was holed up in the hotel bathtub, furiously trading messages with his true love and fighting over the house, I was already on the balcony, deep in a group chat with Aurelia and Ronan.
She's broken. Told me the scumbag tricked her heart, and now wants to trick her out of money.
Tricking her out of her money is a bit too far.
Too far? Is her money and mine not? Was tricking me out of my money not too far? The scumbag will make a move on their company, try to drain its funds to plug the holes.
Then we'll keep pouring fuel on the fire, absolutely shatter the enemy alliance. Take care of yourself too.
Help me collect and organize all the evidence. It'll be useful later. That's it for now. Good night. Over those 3 days at the Hot Springs Resort, we kept running into Morgan everywhere. She was clever about it, managing to evade Damien's line of sight 8 times out of 10. Of course, sometimes I gave her a helping hand, but 7 or 8 times out of 10, she witnessed firsthand Damien's fussing and meticulous care over me. The way he stooped and scraped, groveling and bending over backwards to please me, he had long grown to despise it. So with her, what he sought was the equality and ease he perceived there, her admiration and her devotion to him. All the comprehensive consideration he lavished on me, she had never received any of it. It had likely never even crossed her mind that the lover she waited on hand and foot was behind her back, waiting on me in every conceivable way.
It's all fake without a shred of real feeling.
Yet those tender glances, those instinctive gestures, and the way he rattled off my habits and preferences off the top of his head, all of it was so real. Fake affection couldn't possibly reach that level of detail. What she didn't understand was that besides fake affection, there was also habit. 7 years he was habituated to it. The sycophancy and hypocrisy carved into his very bones. His insincere devotion to me stung her eyes and stung her heart, without a doubt. Combined with the assists from our little sweetheart Aurelia, her trust in him was practically shattered. She no longer bought the scumbag so-called just handling things excuses.
I want security, a house, a car right now. Divorce her immediately, even if it means leaving with nothing, just as long as I can be with you.
After all, they had their own company, they could still live a respectable life. Damien wanted gentleness, wanted peace, but was instead driven to the brink by her relentless pestering. He even began to doubt whether Morgan had ever really been with him out of love, or only for those houses and cars she obsessively fixated on. They fought every night, him hiding in the bathroom. And every time Aurelia, Ronan, and I would huddle in our group chat, furiously trading messages, their conflicts multiplied, their trust in each other dwindled. I even started seeing a dazed, lost expression flicker across Damien's always unflappable face. When he met my concerned inquiries, for once, a trace of reluctant guilt clouded his eyes. But I scoffed inwardly. Save it, belated affection is cheaper than dirt. The day we checked out of the resort, I suggested going for a follow-up with the doctor we regularly consulted, just to check whether I needed to continue the medication. Damien was surprisingly eager and immediately diverted our route to that private hospital. He didn't notice the car that had been tailing us at a steady distance the entire way. She only peeled off once we entered the hospital. She probably thought we were there to check for a pregnancy after all. I'd already implied that was the whole point of the hot springs trip. I figured that right now, even if Damien had 100 mouths, he'd never be able to explain himself. The next day, Damien went to the office as usual, and I certainly wasn't idle. I loaded up with bags and headed to the home of Mrs. Cross, a place I hadn't visited in what felt like 100 years. Even though every aspect of her life, eating, drinking, daily needs, was funded by my family, the dislike in her eyes was still unmistakable. "Mom, open up! It's me, Alara!" There was an immediate response from inside, flustered and frantic.
"What brings you here?"
"My mother is helping us decorate the house, the one abroad. I came to ask your opinion, see what style you prefer."
"It's good you've come around. It's about time. Your parents must have been hoping for this ages ago."
But my words were deliberately ambiguous and veiled, carrying a completely different meaning to other ears. "Find me, a woman to bear a child. I'm entrusting this matter to you." After all, Damien, who was supposedly tied up with clients all day, certainly hadn't told Morgan he was having lunch with me. That very afternoon, my little sweetheart Aurelia reported back to me. When Morgan got home, her face was a spectacular kaleidoscope of emotions.
It tricked me. I had that property in his mother's name investigated. It's not even hers. Yet she lied to me, promised it would all be mine after I had the baby, using my child to trade for the Cross family's wealth and glory. What a scheme. She's been so good to me just to con me into bearing a child for their family. Then Damien and his wife would take the baby and flee abroad. I'd never see my own child again, and not a single brick of that house would ever belong to me. They've already made preparations. I heard it with my own ears. No wonder he wants to mortgage the company for a loan, a massive one. He plans to grab the money and run, leaving me, the legal representative, to take the fall. Such a vicious heart. I've been with him for so many years. gave him my counsel, even helped him orchestrate the whole pursuit of his wife. He said she was just a tool, that I was his true love. I never imagined that the clown all along was me. I hate him to death.
Following my instructions, Aurelia offered her a plan.
You're still so young, with money to lean on, what kind of man can't you find? Are they counting on you to produce an heir for their family? Just pretend you're pregnant. Force them to cough up that house and car they promised. Once it's in your hands, you're gone.
Aurelia shared her righteous indignation through gritted teeth, every inch the loyal best friend. Morgan was quiet for a while, thinking. Then a fierce, ruthless light settled into her eyes. She was about to make her move. She was holding a whole arsenal of Damien's dirty secrets. In less than 3 days, Damien came to me, long-faced. He needed money to fill the hole in the company accounts. This was his way of hinting that I should be the fool who bought out Morgan's shares. But I've already given you all my liquid funds. I can't come up with that much money right now. I pretended to think it over, then floated my idea. The only problem was that I had fully funded that house, sinking several years' worth of my allowance into it.
This must be so hard for you, sacrificing so much for me. Once my new company takes off, I'll buy my wife the most incredible mega villa.
I shot him a mock scolding glare and went along with him half-heartedly. So they sat down with us to negotiate and settled on a deal, a 10 to million deposit to lock in the sale. Damien was over the moon. The 10 million was deposited directly into his account, but he was still 2 million short. So he set his sights on Morgan. He sold their company dirt cheap. Morgan was furious. To placate her, he mortgaged a luxury car in her name. What she didn't know was that every single fixed asset was bought under my mother's name. Damien had no authority to dispose of any of it. I was delighted. The money had traveled from his pocket back into mine. The satisfaction was beyond words. Morgan was pregnant. I could tell from the way Damien was beside himself with joy. What a pity it was all empty joy. There was no child. The so-called test results were nothing more than screenshots of Aurelia's. Meanwhile, my increasingly apparent listlessness and erratic behavior already signaled the onset of depression. Damien and Morgan had calculated all of this long ago. Every step was practically guaranteed. Damien suddenly remembered his mother's birthday. His reason for reminding me was, of course, that 1 million. After all, this was a birthday she had to experience her very last taste of splendor. Mrs. Cross doted on her son to a fault. She gave every spare cent she had to Damien without a second thought. I only wondered when she found out that all the money had been squandered by her precious baby boy on nightlife and honey traps, how exactly would she feel? On the day of Mrs. Cross's birthday, I delivered a grand gift right in front of all their relatives. Morgan, claiming to be pregnant, came knocking. Of course, this was also our little sweetheart's idea. The so-called doorstep confrontation, demanding promises face-to-face, cutting off every escape route. When Mrs. Cross learned that Morgan was pregnant, she was first shocked, then overjoyed. After all, in her eyes, I was incapable of bearing a child. And Morgan was the sweet, sensible daughter-in-law she'd always favored.
My son is already divorced. He left with nothing. This is my new daughter-in-law. The Cross family finally has an heir. I'm truly happy today. You could call it double happiness.
She grew emotional, tears streaming down her aged face, prompting waves of comfort and envy from the fellow village matrons. Morgan, meanwhile, watched coldly throughout, her smile never reaching her eyes.
Mom, you once said if I got pregnant, you'd buy me a house. Does that still stand?
Here was the pregnant daughter-in-law starting to demand a house. The relatives at the surrounding tables fell silent, ears pricked up.
Of course! Mom means what she says. The moment we're back, I'll buy it for you. My son has plenty of money. A single house is nothing to bat an eye at.
Mrs. Cross had always relished flaunting her son's excellence and wealth in front of the relatives, and on an occasion like today, she was pulling out all the stops.
All our friends and family here are witnesses, Mom. You have to keep your word, otherwise your little grandson won't be happy.
Mrs. Cross's mouth hadn't closed the entire time, so ecstatic she couldn't stop beaming. She held Morgan's hand with extreme fondness. Little did she know, one of Ronan's men in the corner was secretly recording the whole thing. An elderly person at the same table grew suspicious of this unfamiliar young man. The young man's reply was watertight. The table's guests wore expressions of sudden understanding and asked no more questions. Once the birthday banquet was over, Mrs. Cross rushed back with her darling daughter-in-law, practically galloping home. She was frantic to have her son buy Morgan a house immediately. Damien's heart, which had just barely settled, lurched right back up again. She still wanted a house. They were having a child together. Now, why was it still house, house, house? Wouldn't the future hold more than enough for her? But he didn't dare say it aloud. His mother kept reminding him that the first 3 months were the most delicate and the mother mustn't be upset. So in the most remote corner of the city, he put down $1 million toward the down payment on a 2-bedroom apartment in her name only. Partly because he truly had no money left, and partly because he too had started keeping his own score and didn't dare sink too much into her. Morgan, in turn, had her own thoughts taking shape. He clearly has so much money, but he couldn't bear to spend it on her and their child. $1 million down payment was just fobbing her off. Did he ever stop to think how a single mother with a mortgage was supposed to survive? Or was it all a scheme to lure her into having a baby? But she kept her mouth shut. After all, there really was no baby. And a house, even a disappointing one, was a house in hand. Both of them were now harboring secret misgivings. It was hard to ever go back to how things were. Behind the scenes, I was pulling all the strings, yet not once did my figure appear. Being the hidden boss felt rather excellent, truth be told. When all the evidence was finally delivered into my hands, I was sitting by the floor-to-ceiling windows of a private hospital, sipping coffee with Ronan and waiting for Aurelia, who was inside for her prenatal checkup.
Be straight with me once this is all done. You're not going to burn the bridge and dispose of Aurelia too, are you?
Sitting across from me, Ronan drew his finger across his throat in a grim, dead serious gesture. What on earth are you thinking? If I wanted to go after her, why would I be helping her? Even without her, I have plenty of ways to bring down the scumbag and his true love. I'm just giving her a chance to earn her place, so when she receives my help, it feels more deserved. I stirred the sugar into my coffee and cast a playful look at Ronan. Have you developed feelings for her?
It's not entirely that.
He was honest, a shadow of worry crossing his brow.
A man like me, who's danced through countless flower beds, those vamps, the cheap teases, the little green tea schemers, none of them are a match for me. But her, she's a genuine innocent. If you ever decided to make her take the fall, she'd be sold by you and still happily counting the cash. With her, I'm a little worried.
I stopped stirring my coffee. Think carefully. She's carrying another man's child. Better to decisively keep your distance from the start than let it become a bone of contention later. He nodded in agreement, but the turmoil and gravity on his face were unmistakable. Aurelia's baby was 4 months along now, already with a clear shape and form. She waved the sonogram proudly in front of my face, utterly oblivious that this was my husband's child and that I was the betrayed, wounded wife. But I couldn't hold it against her. With her simple nature, such thoughts wouldn't even cross her mind. She even grabbed my hand and insisted I be the baby's godmother, leaving me somewhere between tears and laughter. It'll all be over soon. Besides that ready-to-move-in apartment in Eastside, I've also arranged to buy you a place in Silvervale. You can move your parents in there and get away from all the gossip back home. I carefully laid out the plan for her.
I'm not going back to Silvervale. I've got my own career right here in Halstead. Once the scumbag is brought down, I'll finally show my face. It'll earn me decent money, more than enough to raise my child.
She was so full of confidence, radiating pride and smugness. Her so-called career was a series of videos she'd been making from the perspective of a single mother. In just 3 short months, she'd already amassed several million followers. But to avoid catching the scumbag's attention and to maintain a mystique that sparked more debate and buzz, she had never once shown her face. Of course, Ronan lent a hand with the filming, and when it came to promotion, I'd also paid plenty of major influencers for collaborations. In this battle for dignity and emotional vindication, she had rendered indispensable service. It was only right that she reaped some of the rewards. I I had wrestled with my feelings too, had been hostile toward her at first, but once I'd thought it through, I recognized that she, like me, was just another victim of the scumbag's lies. She wasn't like Morgan, who had aided and abetted him in plotting against me. She had never harmed me. And once she saw the scumbag's true colors, she'd even chosen to stand at my side. I felt no hatred toward her. And as for what I still needed from her, there was only one step left. Spare no effort in urging Morgan to demand concrete material things from Damien. When he kept stalling and making excuses, she'd be pushed to use her pregnancy as a weapon and force a showdown, pushing Damien and me to finally tear off all pretenses. Aurelia had a spellbinding power of persuasion over Morgan, and pushing her into action was effortless. In just 2 or 3 days, Damien had already conjured up every imaginable excuse to hurry along the payment for the villa sale. He drained his mother's burial savings and even pocketed 2 pieces of my jewelry that I rarely wore, selling them off. But these were all small sums. In Morgan's eyes, Damien wasn't some tycoon, but at least a substantial millionaire. Tossing a couple $100,000 her way was only to pacify her while she bided her time delivering the baby. Her pregnancy was fake, and the belly couldn't lie. She was more desperate than anyone, and her pressure only grew more relentless. She even started calling frantically during the fixed dinner time Damien and I shared, driving him to the brink of madness with the constant harassment. He was utterly fed up, yet had no way to deal with her. I feigned complete obliviousness, continuing to perform my wifely duties, keeping the household in perfect order, and leaving him with no worries at home. I still waited up for him late into the night, steadfast as ever, and personally fixed him a glass of honey water no matter the hour. Under Morgan's ever-escalating demands and my constant gentle consideration, he began to regret, to fray, to spiral. Finally, at the absolute limit of his patience with Morgan screeching that he must return the $2 million in company loans he'd taken out or she'd call the cops, he snapped. He raised his hand. One slap severed nearly a decade of their bond. It also killed Morgan's wounded heart that had been ready to take the money and run. He regretted it too, but Morgan was no longer buying any of it. She shoved away the groveling Damien, who was trying to comfort her, and locked herself in, sobbing her heart out. When Damien staggered home, utterly defeated, he couldn't even muster a fake smile. But I smiled brilliantly, as if I'd been longing for my husband's return until my eyes wore through. I practically ran to greet him, pressed the water glass into his hand with a fawning face, and hung up his suit jacket, the picture of gentle, virtuous devotion. Except this gentleness wasn't the timid tenderness of a betrayed wife hoping her husband would come back. It was a blade of silk, a weapon of mass destruction, meant to cut him down without leaving a single shred behind. I coaxed him into sitting on the couch and soaking his feet to relax. He sank down reluctantly, and I brought the basin of water, settling beside him and chattering on endlessly about company matters.
Enough. Can't you just be quiet?
I feigned fright, then fell silent. I silently watched him retreat into his room, then cleaned up the mess on the floor. Then I sat on the sofa, buried my head in my knees, and pretended to weep bitterly. But in truth, I was secretly laughing. The living room camera captured it all with perfect clarity, his eruption, his looming threat of violence. Every frame was crystal clear. The next morning, after a night of studying his emotions, he seemed much improved and came to me mumbling apologies. Naturally, I played the role of the good wife. Not only did I forgive him with glistening, tearful eyes, but I also made his breakfast and warmed his milk. He went off to work satisfied, and I, with peace of mind, waited for the story to advance. Morgan showed up at the door while Damien was out. "It's you. What do you want?" I feigned bewilderment, equal parts surprise and confusion.
"I'm Damien Cross's girlfriend. I want to talk to you."
She sat herself down on our sofa, letting her eyes roam over every inch of the interior before addressing my haggard, sorrowful, and incredulous face.
"I can break up with him. For a price."
"I don't have money."
"Then things will end very badly for you."
"Oh? Are you threatening me? Are you going to kidnap me or harm me?" I pretended to be on the verge of tears, deliberately baiting her to say more.
Doing nothing at all is what will be worse for you. Just $5 million, and I guarantee your safety from all trouble.
$5 million? That's too much. I can't come up with that. All the money is with him. While playing poor, I didn't forget to keep stabbing the scumbag in the back.
You're filthy rich, and you can't come up with $5 million?
She was stunned, but after a moment's thought, understanding dawned. And the look she gave me was deeply sardonic.
How much do you have?
There's $30,000 in cash in the drawer. That's all. I gave her a pitiful, frank answer. Desperate times, and she didn't even scorn $30,000. Fine. So how exactly will you guarantee my safety from all trouble? I placed the cash in front of her.
Your sleeping pills, he's been lacing them with poison. And your supplements for blood deficiency, those have been tampered with too.
How do you know all this? You're not making this up just to swindle me, are you?
Ha! The supplements were sourced by me, at his request. The sleeping pills, he tampered with those himself. Anyway, go get tested and you'll see the truth. $30,000 to save your own life, you're getting a steal.
With that, she swept out, brimming with contempt, a glint of vengeful satisfaction in her eyes. Ha, those who court their own destruction cannot hope to live. Damien didn't come home that night. He didn't call or text either. I didn't press, I simply waited in silence. He'd been taken away by the police. Morgan had called them, reporting that he'd defrauded her, using her personal information to take out online loans that he never repaid. At the end of his rope and flat broke, under the officer's mediation, he wrote her a promissory note for $2 million, promising to repay it within 3 days. The two of them had now officially ripped each other apart, leaving matching knife scars on one another's hearts. It was already past midnight when Damien finally dragged himself home. I ignored his dejected state and, as always, mixed him a glass of honey water. After some hemming and hawing, he finally opened his mouth.
I need $2 million.
It was from an online loan he'd taken out when starting his own company, due immediately. I smiled and agreed. He was overjoyed, already scheming to swindle me out of this sum to placate his beloved, hoping she'd quietly settle down and deliver the baby. Except there was nothing in her belly. Was this child the only reason he tolerated so much? Then how devastated would he be on the day he learned the truth? I was quite looking forward to that day. Morgan, utterly crushed by Damien, had naturally come to see the scumbag as utterly unreliable, and her own lie couldn't hold much longer after all. The belly couldn't be fooled. So, planning to grab a huge payout and vanish, she'd already started asking our little sweetheart to introduce her to some high-quality friends. She wasn't afraid of being exposed. The promissory note had been signed right in front of the police. Who she spent her time with had no bearing on his obligation to pay. After thinking it over, I realized I just needed to give her one more push. I had Ronan round up a pack of his rowdy friends to throw a singles mixer, and as Aurelia's ride-or-die bestie, Ronan generously sent her an invitation card. Morgan went all out for this party, hoping to hook a golden goose, sinking 6 figures alone into a sheer, backless haute couture gown. Unfortunately, right when she was swaying seductively, dazzling beyond compare, and slaying every man in sight, a dark-faced Damien materialized in front of her. Without a word, he tried to drag her the center of everyone's attention out of there. Naturally, Damien's appearance was no coincidence. The client he'd been meeting for the contract signing had chosen this very venue, another arrangement of mine.
What are you doing? Is this outfit, these shoes, something a pregnant woman should be wearing?
Pregnant? Not only is the lady spoken for, she's carrying another man's child. What a crushing disappointment. And I thought I'd gotten lucky. Finally met the one destined for me.
The young puppy I'd hired was truly a theater major's pride. Maybe I was imagining it, but I could have sworn I saw him wink at me, hidden in the crowd.
Pregnant? You must have the wrong person. I don't even have a boyfriend. How could I be pregnant? Ha! If you want a kid, go home and have your wife give you one. Don't stand here spouting nonsense and killing everyone's buzz.
It'll be like this. The baby's delicate. It can't take this turbulence. I'll call a car and send you home right now. Be good.
A little while, when is that? 5 years? 10? Please, I can't wait that long. There's nothing in my belly. The so-called baby was just me bluffing you.
He'd been played like a fool, manipulated in someone's palm. Damien suddenly went berserk. Damien was detained for 5 days on charges of assault, which constituted intentional bodily harm. He was even more heartless and cruel than I had imagined. I touched his disgusting face and just gave a cold laugh. I had already prepared a grand gift package for him. Total ruin. The news exploded. Damien Cross keeping Morgan Layton, along with a string of mistresses in cities everywhere while he was still pulling out all the stops, to coax me into going abroad quickly so he could keep dreaming his dream of swallowing my family's fortune. But when I hurled the magazine at his face, its pages practically screaming with the near full-page headline, "Social Climber's Ascent to Adultery," he was only stunned for a few minutes before his expression cooled.
So, you want a divorce? I've slaved away for your family for 3 years. Handing over all the assets here wouldn't even be asking that much. Besides, if I let it slip that you're suffering from depression, well, your parents are so old, they might not be able to handle that. For the Vance family, with its vast wealth, this much in assets is nothing.
Still trying to threaten me? As if he even deserved that. The slap I'd been holding back for months finally landed on his face with such force that my own palm went numb. "You cheating bastard. You think you can still squeeze money out of me? Aren't you afraid that mouth of yours will stretch too wide and choke you to death?" I could finally lay my cards on the table. The words I'd been choking on for so long could finally be spat out without restraint. Shocked beyond measure, he scrambled to his feet, ready to unleash his fury. Smack, a second slap sent him reeling, completely stunned. "You've got some nerve, you worthless scumbag. I've known about every filthy thing for a long time. The only reason I didn't expose you was to drain every last cent from your pockets. What the hell are you daring to threaten me? Giving you one extra dime would be an insult to my intelligence. Aren't you and Morgan joined at the hip? Then go join her inside. I'll call the police for you right now." Before he could recover from his shock, I swept out of the room, sat on the sofa with my phone in hand, and pretended to call the police. It quickly dawned on him that he was about to lose everything. He bolted out of the room in a frenzy, and the moment he met my mocking, triumphant eyes, he lost what little remained of his control. He lunged at me, hands around my throat, spewing a torrent of crazed curses.
What do you even amount to? If it weren't for your family's money, who would have slaved for you like an ox all these years? I thought once we married, at least your father would hand over some shares, some assets. Who knew he'd guard against me like a thief, not giving up a single hair and making Morgan suffer for so many years because of it. You wretched woman daring to call the police? Today I'll make sure you're finished.
He had no idea there were cameras in the house or that Ronan was already downstairs. Just as he pinned me to the sofa, spewing venom, Ronan burst in with the building management, citing my distress text. Everyone present witnessed the scene of Damien's violence firsthand. Ronan had already alerted the police on his way up with the building staff. I was wrapped in a blanket by one of the property women and held comforted to the side while the others pinned Damien to the ground to wait for the police. He seemed to regain some clarity then, perhaps recognizing the gravity of what this incident meant. Prostrate on the floor, he howled apologies and begged for mercy, spewing every groveling word he could muster, like a stray dog kicked out of its home. But I offered not a single word of forgiveness. I simply waited for the police to haul away this kept man, this domestic abuser. While he was in custody, I filed my lawsuit. Domestic violence, attempted murder, illegally transferring joint marital assets, bigamy, embezzling company funds. For every charge, the evidence was complete videos, WhatsApp, screenshots, purchase and sale contracts, and financial records. Damien Cross would not only be stripped of everything, he would also spend the next 15 years behind bars. He even had his lawyer request a meeting with me, begging me to remember our years as husband and wife and grant him leniency. I asked his lawyer instead if Damien were his son-in-law, would he advise his own daughter to forgive and forget? As his ex-wife, after he appealed but the original verdict was upheld, I finally went to see him in the place where he was now running a sewing machine.
I've been thinking a lot lately. Ending up like this is the result of my own doing. When I couldn't see you, I hated you to death. But seeing you now, all I feel is guilt and regret. Regret that I hurt and used someone innocent like you.
Oh? A life without hatred must be much more peaceful. Then I'm afraid you won't get your wish. After all, every single step that landed you in here was orchestrated by me. Remember every step. Ha ha ha, that stone, you'd better keep it tucked tight in your chest. The figure who opened the door to escort me out looked vaguely familiar. When he turned around, I finally got a clear look. The young puppy?
Sis used me and then forgot me? If I hadn't followed you all the way here, were you planning to toss me aside once you were done?
I hung up the phone and slipped away silently. Couldn't afford to mess with that. As Damien's co-conspirator, Morgan Layton naturally ended up behind bars as well. Because she turned state's witness, her sentence was reduced to 7 years. 7 years might not sound like much, but how many years of youth does a young woman truly have? For someone whose sole aim was to climb ever higher, destroying her best shot at soaring to a higher branch was as good as taking her life. All my marital assets were recovered by the lawyers. Morgan had busied herself for nothing and ended up with empty hands. Her reputation back home was ruined too. Her parents visited her twice in prison, tears streaming down their aged faces, but only curses left their lips. She didn't dare make a sound, yet she couldn't hide the monumental hatred she bore for Damien. So much so that 15 years later, on the very first day Damien got out of prison, he met a bloody end. But of course, that's a story for another time. After learning that Damien was utterly disgraced and convicted of crimes, Mrs. Cross still tried to use her status as mother-in-law and elder to manipulate me. She clung to my property and demanded I pay for her elder care. With one phone call, I had security carry her off like a chicken, her belongings tossed out onto the street alongside her. She wailed and cursed to the heavens, drawing a crowd of onlookers pointing and whispering. Finally feeling some shame, she gathered her luggage and planted herself at the police station, demanding they give her justice. Police, at their wits' end, called me in to mediate right in front of the officers. I laid out the evidence of how she and her son had conspired to murder the wife and seize the assets. The kind-hearted policewoman was soon brimming with righteous fury, looking at the old woman with nothing but disgust. Left with no options, she dragged her luggage to the entrance of my community again, making a scene and threatening drastic measures unless I gave her elder care money. Against such shamelessness, I was nearly at my wit's end. That was when the young puppy Kai Everhart pulled up in his police cruiser. He warned the old lady that if she kept causing trouble, she'd be invited for tea. She didn't believe him until she was genuinely taken in and locked up for the night. Only then did she haul her bags and belongings back to her hometown, properly cowed. In the age of the internet, news travels fast. Her once untouchable golden boy son was in prison. She slunk back to her hometown, coated in dust and shame. Those who had once burned with envy now seized their long-awaited chance. You'd think they'd set up a loudspeaker at the village entrance to broadcast the glorious deeds of the Cross family, mother and son, 8 times a day. Her reputation in tatters, she could only cower in her dilapidated yard, praying for her son's early return so they could reunite. All her former arrogance and swagger were gone. When everything was finally settled, drained, and exhausted, I came clean to my parents. And in the face of their concern and love, I couldn't hold back the flood of bitter tears. Thank heavens. Thank heavens I wasn't alone. I still had the courage to start again. Though not entirely without troubles. Lately, I've been hounded relentlessly by that young puppy. So much so that even stepping out the door has become a challenge.